What's good, Academy Nation? It's your boy Cass here, coach of your Detroit Red Wingulls, bringing you a Week 8 matchup in the RGBL Season 15 versus the Rock Eaters, coached by Multi-Mole Enthusiast. Now, this is a interesting match because it could be a playoff match with the records that both teams have, because we're both near the top of the league. Currently, I think I am in third and they are in fourth with the same record. I beat them in differential by, I think, 4 points or so, which is important because this may be a rematch that could happen the first week of playoffs due to our records and our standings. So if we have a close match, it's likely that we come out third and fourth and probably won't see each other in playoffs. If one of us wipes the other one out, you know, we might be getting away from that, but there is the potential that we see this matchup again literally next week, where we both get 4th and 5th place respectively. Actually, I don't think that's possible because we're both sitting at 5 and 2. So one of us goes to 6 and 2 and one of us goes to 5 and 3, which, unless the other team that's currently in 5th place right now wins out, we're probably in the top 4, so we probably won't see each other in playoffs until the end of the regular the run of playoffs. So we're probably okay, but this is a team that we very much could see in playoffs, and it's a team that definitely deserves to make playoffs. With just by looking at it, it's a menacing team, and I've had a problem trying to come up with something for it. I also don't know if I want to play more safe, if I want to play more risky this week, because playoff implications aren't really there. It just depends on seeding at this point, and we just have to look at what we want for seeding. We cannot get second because that's first and second are 7 and 0 and 6 and 2 right now. Well, 6 and 1 right now. So there's no way we can catch up to them without going 6 and 2 ourselves. And I mean, that might be what we want to shoot for, because I think we have an easier run if we get the second place. But I don't know. I have no idea what playoffs are like. The schedule is all over the place. The standings are all over the place because there's a lot of matches that haven't been completed. So we have to see what happens. But regardless of that, let's break down this team and what they have. So the Rock Eaters are running the Terrastal form. That is very important because I'm going to probably lose this match because I calc for regular standard baby Terrapagos and not Terrastal Terrapagos. He also has Tinglu, he has Goldengo, Zapdos, Galarian form, Slitherwing, which is a Terra Captain with Terra Fire, Whimsicott, which is the other Terra Captain on this team with Fire Ground and Steel, Quillfish, Munkidori, Lantern, and Dedenne as his team. You can see the speed tiers on the list there. I wrote in my notes that this is a pretty middle ground speed team, but this is actually a pretty fast team. Anything with having 4 over 100, the standard is usually 1 or 2, 3 if you want to really invest in it, but most teams tend to have more things in the 90s than both of our teams do, so we definitely have loaded on the front end pretty well. But it's a pretty good speed tier. Last week we saw the 80s can get it done, so yeah, a couple 85s and an 81 and an 84 matching with 4 100s. Not really slow this week, so the fast team could be a problem for us if we're not investing in speed, so that is just something we have to deal with. I anticipate that it's gonna be some Scarf users in this team due to my Darkrai outspeeding everything, which probably makes sense, and that'll be smart. And the middle speed tiers want to do that stuff, so like Zapdos is a great choice Scarf user in this. Goldengo might not be bad as well as a choice Scarf user. There's some things that will come. We do have to be concerned about the Sun as well with this team that can help out with letting Whimsicott set Slitherwing up to sweep, but overall that's probably not too big of a deal now that I'm aware of it, and definitely saw that in my notes from myself in the front office when we were going through this team. So as for their brings, I think Terrapagos comes unless they decide to meme knowing that we're both in playoffs. Likely wants to use heavy duty boots to keep Terra Shell activated, which will reduce its damage at full, which is helpful because it is a solid rapid spinner as well, and that's probably the role that it wants to use, knowing that I have Rocks users on my team and I probably want to set them up. So it'll probably want to do that mostly to help out the Slitherwing and the Zapdos, but also to keep Terra Shell as a thing that if I happen to lose, if for some reason happen to get rid of heavy duty boots for some reason, I don't know, They want to be able to come back in and deal with it. Typically, it wants to be an offensive Pokemon. It's good stats across the board, so it can fit a lot of niches on the team. So it's really depending on what we want to see. I definitely expect it to be more offensive this week, as you don't have a great special attacker outside of Monkey Dory. I mean, Goldengo can be useful, but its typings aren't the best, with Darkrai being a looming threat. So I expect to see Terapagos be more offensive this week than a defensive thing. Maybe he wants to run a little bit of bulk just to take a hit, well, outside of its Terra Shell, but for the most part, gonna be a bit offensive this week to try to deal with some of my slower mons on my team. Ting-Lu feels like it almost has to come this week. It's a great phaser. It's a wall that really does well at a wall. I don't know who designed this thing, but they made it fat, and that is a compliment in this case, because he is fat. He puts the F in fat. He puts the F in something else too, but we're not gonna talk about that one. It likely means that he wants to start with some sort of hazards this week, and it probably wants to come to do that. So it probably could be spikes, could be rocks or something too, depending on what you want to see. Rumination's also great to shut down my tanks. Probably going to see it with 2 Eviolite users that want to sit in on it and do a lot of annoying stuff, but also good against the defensive things that I'm going to try to switch into it to beat it. So I feel like Ting-Lu is a great option, and it's a great pick too, so definitely going to show up this week. I feel like Zapdos fits really well into this team. It's no surprise because of its great typing. Fighting and flying is just a great typing. They synergize well together. Look at Staraptor if you need more information on that. 100% wants Choice Scarf to deal with Darkrai, and in general, it can get away with clicking CC or Brave Bird pretty freely on my team. Probably coverage move, it has to run Knockoff to stop my tanks and my not fully evolved Pokemon with my Terra Captains, because they have Eviolite and they're not gonna like that. So I would definitely see that, and U-turn is a great option for the final slot. I think it also gets defog, so we could potentially see that if it wants to run a heavy-duty boot set of some sort, but I definitely expect it to just be a Choice Scarf user. I definitely could see this as a lead option for my opponent, especially with me leading Darkrai the last couple weeks, and we saw how that worked last week. Definitely could see Choice Scarf, Zapdos, and a U-turn is a great pivot option right off the bat. So we have to just be wary of that when we see this team. I think Whimsicott comes specifically for speed control this week, or to set up Slitherwing. Prankster is really good for it. It's a natural way to help deal with Darkrai because of its fairy typing, so it's a great counter to Darkrai in general. And just my team. Likely will be Terra Fairy if it wants to try to take on Darkrai 1v1. I definitely expect more Slitherwing to see the Terra this week instead of Whimsicott, but it could be an option. I expect it more or less to function to set up the Sun to allow other things to sweep if it does show up for this match. So Slitherwing is its primary help user, and more of a utility mon in general is just great for Whimsicott, and as a Pokemon, it's a great niche for it, and I think I definitely see that coming this week. Because it can stop us from winning the late game too, especially with things like Stun Spore, or if it wants to run Tailwind to set something else up. I mean, it can cause problems for the team, that's for sure. Slitherwing is a great pair to Sunny Day Whimsicott. Give it an immediate boost without having to run Booster RNG, which makes it a pain to deal with, especially with its attack stat. It may opt to be more of a physical set, which will absolutely take advantage of Terra in the Sun. First Impression is probably there to deal with Darkrai and other sweepers on my team. I expect Life Orb as a good offensive item. Maybe we see Assault Vest if it wants to tank hits, or Heavy Duty Boots if they're worried about hazards. Really just depends on what they're worried about, but I have been calculating Assault Vest because it is really good in my team. I do think Goldengo comes as the last slot. It's nice for pivoting around, and they probably want it to spin block. For the team, Stab Steel goes a great way into my team to take off my fairy types, and especially when I have Terra Fairy on all my Pokemon. Its ability also helps stop spreading status conditions. Try saying that 20 times fast, which is mildly concerning when paired with Ting-Lu, because the best way to deal with Ting-Lu is to deal status to it, and yeah, that's not great when you have an answer to it, especially when you have an answer that's a ghost type that also is immune to the fighting type move that you're going to use against it. Great. Big problem. Great synergy between those two, and I definitely could see them working well together. It's also a setup option for the team. I know they like to bring Goldengo. I don't think it's as important as the rest of the team members this week, but I do think it is a good option generally, and it's something that I generally expect to see when facing this team. Other brings that could come with this team is Monkey Dory. It could be a Choice Scarf user. It definitely deals with Darkrai if it can land a Focus Blast. At that point, that also washes my speed tiers, which may be their answer to my speed. Although they probably don't want to run 2 choice users, and Zapdos is definitely better than Monkey Dory this week. Quillfish comes if it wants to try to stack hazards, if it's a Whirlwind set on Ting-Lu. So they would use that and potentially flip turn and intimidate drops to try to deal with some of my physical attackers. The Dene can come to spread paralysis. That's another way for speed control. I don't expect to see it because the Dene is really bad, but it could come. And Lantern probably doesn't want to come unless they're really worried about Suicune. Then they want to see some sort of offensive set with like Thunderbolt, Volt Switch Skull, and you give it another move with Assault Vest, and it can do actually some work against Suicune. But that's up to them if they decide they need it. But enough about their team. Let's talk about what we're bringing. We got Luck of the Hawlucha with the Expert Belt this week with Mold Breaker as its ability. 252 attack, 252 speed, Jolly Nature. So we're maxing out its speed and attack with Close Combat, Dual Wing Beat, U-Turn, and Throat Chop. Hawlucha was about the only thing I could really decide on this week when I was coming into this matchup and trying to find Pokemon. We're not using the normal Unburden set because I need Mold Breaker to try to catch Terapagos off guard, which is the main purpose for being there. I've brought Unburden every week that I've brought Hawlucha, I believe, or close to that anyway. And I definitely expect them to see this as a late game sweeper, but it is here to come in on Terapagos and destroy it with one shot. Without its ability and by breaking the mold, Close Combat is a guaranteed OHKO, which is, I think, really important for this team. And I really needed a way to deal with Terapagos because it's a pain. If you've ever fought anything with an ability like this, like Lunala or Lugia or any other multi-skill user like Dragonite, it's really tough because allowing them to live one hit is often enough for them to get what they need to get done. And go from there, with whether that's setting up Dragonite, setting up Calm Mind, setting up something else. It's ready to go at that point. So we want to be able to deal with it frame one and just take it out. We can take on things like Ting-Lu, Goldingo as a revenge killer, Slitherring with no Terra, Whimsicott without its boost, and Monkey Dory as a revenge killer. We are running Dual Wing Beat because we are not running Unburden and we are not trying to lose our item. So that will help us out with things like the Slitherwing to deal more damage to it and to try to take it out. We can beat Whimsicott as long as it doesn't have any boost, and we also have Revenge Kill Monkey Dory. So there's a lot that Hawlucha can do this week, but there's also not a lot for Hawlucha to do, if that makes sense. It's really here for its role in beating Terapagos and stopping that from doing work. It's going to be more of a wall breaker this week. It's not meant to be a sweeper. But I have a feeling that Terapagos is going to try to remain healthy during the whole match. And since the set beats any Terapagos set out there by outspeeding and outgoing it, it's definitely an important piece of the puzzle this week. Up next is Asta the Darkrai with Wide Lens. With Bad Dreams, it's its ability. I have a little bit of HP investment, enough speed to outspeed the entire team, and special attack maxed out with the Timid Nature because I have to run the Timid Nature because Whimsicott would be faster than me if I ran max speed Modest. I wanted to take another shot at Darkrai set from last week, so I've basically done the same thing, only we switched out the electric coverage in Thunder for ice coverage in Blizzard. Blizzard allows us to actually beat uninvested Whimsicott, which is nice because it may think it could threaten us out. Mainly this is a backup strategy should something go wrong, but also it makes Darkrai a really good switch in to Whimsicott if I am anticipating a Prankster move. After that, we do have to be wary of it having Moonblast, and we do have to one-shot it, so we are investing a lot on Wide Lens, giving me a 77% accurate Blizzard, and hoping that we hit. Mainly this is a backpull Pokemon if something goes wrong, but it also can be what we need to get out of a situation. I always have the potential to sleep something with this team, but then set up on the switch with Nasty Plot. But we have to be careful about those Scarf users out there because they 100% OHKO Darkrai. Should they go head to head. So if we see something switch into Darkrai, it's definitely most likely Choice Scarf. And I've just not been paying attention to that this season because I've not used Darkrai really in the role that I've wanted to use Darkrai in ever. It's not swept anything. So maybe this week will be something different. And we'll see. But this is a set that I've wanted to run since last week, and I definitely want to use it. We will most likely not run lead Darkrai this week for a couple of reasons. One, we learned from last week that Scarfers are a great lead. which is an easy thing to anybody who's done competitive battling would know, because you're gonna have a switching option like U-turn to Volt Switch if you don't get the right matchup. So they're great lead options. And second, I've been leading Darkrai for the last few weeks. So if you see Darkrai, which I'm gonna bring Darkrai, you're gonna go, oh, he might lead that. Let's bring a Choice Scarfer out that's gonna beat it. And yeah, we're not letting that happen again. That definitely ruined the match last week, because if we had Darkrai for a longer period of time, we definitely did win. We just let it go to a Choice Scarfer, and that was a really dumb play, and that's my bad. Next up is Noelle the Suicune with leftovers this week. I am running Pressure because I have to. I'm almost max HP, a little bit of defense investment with Bold Nature, Scald, Shadow Ball, Calm Mind, and Substitute are the moves. I didn't write this in my notes, but we are running the little bit less than max HP to kind of play the role on Substitute a little bit more, so we can have a good chance of getting 4 off if I don't heal that much. But leftovers also is there, so it's when you do sub, it's a weird thing to do HP calcs, but sometimes it's important, and I don't know if this is, but the little bit more in a special attack doesn't bother me at all. I need this to be a defensive stop this week. Scald on Suicune gives us the opportunity to burn our opponents that can stop their physical attackers. Suicune also is great because it does well taking on the special attackers of the team naturally. And it gives me a much needed counter to Slitherwing that may try to set up and sweep this week, especially if it wants to go Terra Fire. Calm Mind is great for setup on potential switches and can sit in front of special attackers of the other team. They don't have much that they can do against Suicune unless they're really scared of it and decide to run Lantern, but unfortunately, we're going to have to hope for a burn against Ting Lu, because that'll be, yeah, the price to pay for it to remove it from the field. And as I said a couple weeks ago, you never leave a physical attacker in on a Scald unless you are trying to get burned, which then it's a great strategy, but I hope you have guts, because yeah, you're probably going to get burned in that case, and that was definitely what happened a couple weeks ago. Next up is Zoro the Hisuian Zoroark with choice specs this week. I have Illusion because I have to run Illusion. I'm tired of saying 3 in a row. I have to say I'm running this ability because that's the only ability I have. I need some other abilities in Pokemon, but it is max speed, max special attack, hasty nature with Bitter Malice, knockoff, hyper voice, and trick. At this point, I really didn't know what to bring. I'll be honest. I kind of need something else, and yeah. So really, I'm just trying to be as annoying as possible. As I said, this match doesn't matter that much, so let's try anything, I guess. I felt like Trick would be a useful tool this week to stop Ting Lu and Zapdos that don't appreciate losing their items and then being locked into a single move without any benefits. It's a potential to stop choice users as well, so we can stop those Scarfers. So a little bit of a risk on Monkey Dory, but hey, at that point we'd outspeed it, so damage versus speed, I don't know. We'll have to play that game when we get there. It's gonna be an interesting one to see what happens. We also can swap items on Slitherwing or Quillfish. It's not as viable for them. Like, they're not special attackers, so they're not gonna appreciate the item, but their items probably aren't that great either, especially with the chance of Assault Vest being out there. So yeah, I don't know if I'll click it on them, but we'll see. Mostly Zora is here for utility. It prevents sweepers and remove item on things that otherwise would be a problem. Bitter Malice is my stab move for this week because of its secondary effect to lower attack stats, making it nice for physical sweepers to switch out. Defiant Zapdos is a problem though, but I will likely not click it unless I feel there is no chance they will make a switch to Zapdos. Hyper Voice does just as well into this team, and the only thing that really stops it is the Goldango, and even then, Goldango doesn't want to come in on me because I have knockoff, which is fun. With Specs, Hyper Voice can do a lot of damage and maybe even land us a few KOs, but again, our purpose is speed and utility this week, and I will probably want to bring this as a lead because that's really Zoroark's best option, but I also have to anticipate that it will be staring down what it will be staring down on the other side. As I said, Zoroark really facades well as Darkrai, and I think the two of them put together could be really nice for this matchup. So potentially I will lead Darkrai, but it'll actually be Zoroark, which would be kind of cool because I've wanted to do that for a while. I don't have a big breakdown on like leading things around with Zoroark this week. just know that I've thought about the things, and I'll talk about it in the battle if you want to know more about it. Next up is Klaus the Iron Treads with booster energy this week. Quark Drive, because I have to run Quark Drive. All right. I need some different Pokemon. I am max attack, mostly max speed, and a little bit of defense invested with the Jolly Nature to boost that speed stat. I'm Heavy Slam, Supercell Slam, Earthquake, and Knockoff. I do feel like I have to run Iron Treads this week to match up against the speed tiers. I did say they have speed tiers. Some are fast, some are mid, but ours are not the best going into this team because we have to choose which stats to invest in. Klaus doesn't really care much about his defenses since it's a terrible wall this week. Honestly, it's just a terrible wall in general, but you didn't hear that from me. It does provide some good offense though, and that's why I'm bringing it. I really wanted to run Rapid Spin, which is there to remove the hazards that are very likely, but I don't have space for it. So we had to lose out. Unfortunately, 4 moveset syndrome is a thing for this Pokemon this week. It's just unfortunate. This could be the lead 2 for our team, as it's meant to beat Scarfers and Monkey Dory and Zapdos. Fortunately, if our Scarf removal operations fail, we synergize well with Zoroark to stop fighting offense to help Darkrai, which is great. I tried many items for this Pokemon this week, but I settled on Booster Energy for the immediate boost to our speed stat. We beat everything unless we lose the tie with Monkey Dory and Whimsicott decides to be Prankster or have a Scarf on as well, which I am calced with Booster Energy to speed tie Monkey Dory. I might change that. We'll see. Actually, no, I'm not, because we have the same speed stat. So unless it's max speed Monkey Dory, yeah, we might not even have a speed tie. So we'll see. Heavy Slam guarantees a KO on Whimsicott, which is why we are running it. Sash is probably the common item for it, but you may not want to have it to get Slitherwing in. We need a wall breaker this week, as I realize Hawlucha and Darkrai are the only ways we win the battle, and I did already talk about Hawlucha as a wall breaker this week, so yeah, we don't have a lot of great win cons this week, so we'll just have to try our best with what we got. Klaus could be the lead option for the Facade for Rocks, or to try to catch lead Zapdos or Monkey Dory or Whimsicott to win. I'll have to think a little bit more on the speed stat, so the set may change between now and the battle, just because I might want to outspeed Monkey Dory, guarantee that I outspeed Monkey Dory, or try to speed tie in order to make it an actual win for Iron Treads, because Focus Blast is an opportunity that Monkey Dory will have. And last but certainly most not least is Silph Clefable this week with Rocky Helmet. I'm not set on this ability either, so just know that it might be unaware later, but I didn't change it from Magic Guard. We are max HP, max defense with a Bold Nature, a little bit of special attack investment, Knockoff, Moonblast, Wish, and Endeavor. We must, I repeat, must run Clefable this week. Even though we have Noelle to counter the Slitherwing, we need something else that can handle it too, and what better than Clefable? Clefable does that and causes problems with Rocky Helmet that adds additional damage to my opponent should it choose to be a physical attacker, which it is a Slitherwing, and it'd be stupid if it was not a physical attacker. I also feel like Wish Endeavor is a good niche this week to counter slower things that can take my attacks. We can use Wish and then click Endeavor at our lowest HP to cause problems for their bulky Pokemon, but if you haven't figured it out, item management is critical this week. That is the end of the goal of this. Item management is critical. That's why we have Knockoff on 3 of our 6 Pokemon. It is very, very important to make sure we get rid of those Scarfers to deal with those things. And even then, I also didn't mention about item removal. We have the option to change items with Trick. So I think it's very important this week. That's just something I needed to be sure of. And the better we know the opponent's team, the better we have a chance of winning. That's for sure. Many of my opponent's Pokemon rely on their items. That is a big note for this team. And if we can get rid of that, then we're in for business. So if I have to run Knockoff spam for the first half of the battle, that's fine, but and then nothing outspeeds Darkrai, I feel good. I feel good at the end of the day. So we'll just have to hope that misses don't happen. Our biggest problem at the end of the game will definitely be Prankster Whimsicott with Stun Spore. A paralysis will stop my cleaners, so managing that will be important. Darkrai does beat it, and Darkrai has to beat it. That is really my only option here. And it might make me switch from Blizzard to Sludge Bomb or Sludge Wave or something. I want to check that too. So I'm going to do a little bit more investing in the team. I thought I was ready. I really did. And then I started talking through everything. And now I'm like not sure about anything. So I'm going to do a little bit more work on the team. And it might be a little bit different. But if I have any changes, I'll let you know when we get to the battle. So just stay tuned for that. It'll be up tomorrow. But that's one of the things we need to worry about at the end of the game. We also need to make sure that one of our walls, make sure the walls for our sweepers are completely gone for them to work. That's why I think we need to find a balance in our team this week between offense, defense, and utility. We're seeing that balance between offense, defense, and utility as Pokemon on my team are kind of accomplishing multiple roles, being an attacker, a utility attacker, or a utility defender, or a defensive wall that can be an attacker, a defensive setup wall that can be an attacker, or pure offense with a little bit of utility. They all have their own unique niches and moves, and I like it. And I hope that they can do the job of doing multiple roles this week because we're going to need it. This team is going to be a tough match, but getting them out of the way now might just save us from having to deal with them in playoffs where it actually matters. Because at the end of the day, this battle does not mean anything. We are in regardless. It just means, hey, maybe we get an easier role. Maybe we get something better. And definitely one of the things that I've seen in Draft League recently that I wish this league did, because I think it's awesome, is picking your opponent for the first round of playoffs in order. So one gets to choose out of the bottom at a 5 through 8 who they play first, and you're just getting to play like that. I think it's a really good setup. I know that technically the 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7, 3 versus 6, 4 versus 5 is supposed to put it at the general who is going to be good team versus the worst team that's in playoffs, but that is not the case for Draft League because there are teams that match up really well against some certain teams and teams that don't do well against other teams. So picking your opponent, I think, is a little bit better for Draft League in this situation. But that's just a little gripe from me that I'd like to formally put before the commissioners of any league to take a look at it. It's important that we try our best in this match. And there might be a point where I just start playing silly. That is intentional. So I'll do a little bit more of thinking on my end about what I want to do with the team and how I want to play this game. And if there's any changes, I'll let you know in the battle, but make sure you subscribe down below so you don't miss that battle tomorrow. Also leave a like on this video if you enjoyed, and let me know what you think of the team. Let me know what you would change if you're going to make some changes, because I'm going to make some changes. But that is all I have for you today. Thank you for watching. Hope you have enjoyed. And until next time, I am your boy Chaos, coach of your Detroit Red Wingulls, your playoff-bound Detroit Red Wingulls. We'll see you next time. Stay safe out there, and as always, put it up.